Hi, everybody. I'm making this message just, it's a quick thing because I had some friends that are tripping that currently called me and asked me a couple questions. And, like, through my experiences with psychedelics and also just my education on, myself and the external world around me, my emotional world within me, the collective conscious, the emotional connect, the emotional experience in the collective consciousness as well. Whether it was through meditation, like I said, psychedelics, reading, so intellectually getting, to understand the concepts of the written concepts, but also the unspoken, felt concepts of the world and people within it, and, the other living organisms within it as well. And there so specifically, I'll be talking about mushrooms real quick, just a little sneak peek. Mushrooms are fucking awesome. They really fucking are. Psilocybin can come into you and just know exactly what to give you, even if you're not consciously aware of, the reason why the mushroom is doing some things that it is. For example, if the mushroom is giving you some symbols, some signs, or some emotions, you might be confused as to why the mushroom is giving you them, but the mushroom knows what it's doing. And it's crazy, right? Like, what do you mean the mushroom knows what it's doing? It's not a person. And then that goes back to, the concept that, you know, as humans, sometimes we think that we're the only type of consciousness out there, and we're just not. We know our own consciousness, we know how we work, and other living organisms, have their own way, have their own type of consciousness. It's not through, the English or Spanish or French language that we know and that we hear. They communicate within their own species, and, and they communicate with the external world around them through their own patterns of communication that we may not be able to access. And so when I say the mushroom knows what it's doing, the mushroom, being a psychoactive substance, definitely has its own consciousness. And when ingested and digested in your body, it's it communicates with your body in its own way. And that's why when we, eat the mushroom or drink the mushroom tea, we are essentially inviting a consciousness into our body, and we're opening the conversation, we're opening the pathway of communication with that, conscious organism. And it might not be conscious in the way that we as humans understand it, but it's definitely conscious. If you have ever been if you have during your journey, specifically I'm talking about mushrooms, that's what I'm experienced in, and you have ate the mushroom and you've all of a sudden, felt like crying, or maybe you did cry, you might not understand why. And that's completely okay. And you might be wondering, well, I wasn't sad earlier today. But like I said, when the mushroom comes in your body, it knows what you need and it knows what to send you. So the fact that when you ate the mushroom, you cried, there was obviously a need to cry. The mushroom was able to sense that need and give you the space and the push that you needed in order to cry and for you to feel, that sadness that maybe you didn't allow yourself to feel, or maybe it was too hard to feel at another time. So the mushroom can definitely bring to the surface some emotions that you may be confused about, but that are never, nonetheless still yours. They're your emotions. They're definitely not, fake emotions. They didn't just come out of nowhere because of the mushroom. They came from somewhere because of the mushroom. The mushroom went into that place where you were hiding it and, was able to assess the situation and say, this needs to come out. Which is also what brings me to, the second topic, when people have bad trips. When people have bad trips, ultimately, almost all of the time, not all of it, but almost all of the time, those bad trips start to occur because we were not prepared and well equipped to handle what came to surface regarding emotions, memories, physical feelings, emotional feelings, mental thoughts, things like that. So when we're not prepared for what is to come, and if then we can all of a sudden feel a bunch of things, and we're just been hit. It's like we've been hit by a bus, and we're just like, hold the fuck up. Did not expect this. I did not want this. Therefore, we've all heard the saying, you know, you, I'm drawing a blank, but if you are pushing, if something is pushing you and you are trying to deter that, going against the flow, if you're holding tension and not releasing, if you're doing more damage than you think you are. And we think, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. And so you're just kind of avoiding whatever it is you're avoiding. It actually hurts more because that tension builds up when you're not going with the flow. So when the mushroom brings up some emotions and you don't want to deal with it, you're going against the grain. And that's what brings you to a bad trip. You are not letting go and releasing. And then on the other side, let's say, even though we weren't prepared, it came up and we're like, all right, well, shit, I'm here. And we decide to go with the flow. Then the other part, if you're not well equipped to handle what came up, that also can take you to a bad trip. For example, if if a memory came up of, something that happened, let's say a month or a year ago, and we're like, fuck, I didn't realize that I still held on to this memory. I didn't realize that it still had an effect on me. I thought I dealt with this. So, right, you're open, which is great. But then you're like, well, so I didn't handle it the first time. So now what do I do? So this emotion has come up and you're like, well, what do I do with it? And you're just like, it's like, like it's like a new mother, holding or someone who doesn't have a baby, and someone just like, hold my baby real quick. It's like, what do I do with this thing? So you can hold your emotions. You're like, what do I do with this? And by not being equipped with tools to be able to handle that emotion, to be able to, process it, to be able to talk about it, to be able to understand it, you're kind of just like holding on to this thing like without understanding what the fuck to do next. So for I've been really holding back on myself, and I really badly want to, start preparing people for whatever psychedelic experience you bring upon yourself and you invite into your life. But it's definitely a well-worthy experience, but it definitely needs to be prepped for. Once again, this is not a invitation to do it. If you do it on your own, then that's what you do. Love.